Okay, I'm going to start any second.
Okay.
Right. Hi, everyone. It's Alan Bradshaw here, founder of the Psychology Business Incubator. I'm here with friend and colleague and fellow member of the incubator. That's Derek Mowbray. Hi, Derek.
Hi. Hello, Alan. Nice to see
Um,
you. Is it sunny in Scotland today?
it is absolutely glorious, Derek, in Scotland today. It's beautiful. I'm looking out at a lovely blue sky. And a dying ash tree, unfortunately. But it's lovely. It's lovely here.
Yeah.
Um,
Good.
anyway, everyone, Derek and I are having a few conversations about the topic of leadership, leaders, and today's today's topic, this conversation is going to be about leader behavior. So, Derek, why are leader behaviors important?
Well, most formal organizations, when they get set up, actually want to succeed. They want to perform at their best and to achieve whatever the purpose of the organization happens to be.
Yeah,
I don't think I've met an organization that was set up in order to fail.
yeah,
But in the process of succeeding, it's necessary for the workforce to be fully engaged and performing at its peak for any organization to be successful. The workforce also has to be resilient, flexible, agile, and be able to respond to internal and external pressures for change, which occur very rapidly. So one's got to have a very sort of responsive workforce. So leader behaviors, leaders have a massive impact on followers, absolutely huge. No matter what level you're at within a business or another form of organization, your influence as a leader is profound. And so a leader's job basically is to try and nurture and encourage all the followers to perform at their peak.
yeah.
So
I was
it's
just going to
really
say. I
important.
mean, I was just going to say, Derek, that I mean, I've I've personally seen the impact of negative leader behaviors, which is pretty catastrophic, actually, and the massive difference when positive behaviors become more typical. The whole feel of an organization changes, and that is reflected. I think this is kind of what you're saying, isn't it? It's reflected in results and what the organization is striving to do, their purpose, KPIs, they often call them, don't they? Key
Yeah,
performance indicators.
yeah, yeah,
Um, Negative leader behaviors have a terrible impact on those things, don't they?
they do. And so it's really important for leaders to not only know how to behave, but also to do the sort of almost prerequisites uh, to leader behavior. You can be as pleasant as you like, but if the culture itself is toxic,
Yeah.
then people are going to be influenced by the culture and not just by your nice behavior. So as a leader, you need to be able to understand what to do about the cultural environment within your behavior taking place. And there
Yes.
are these basic prerequisites which need to be in place, which of course it's the leader's job to do as well. And these prerequisites include creating a psychologically safe working environment where people feel confident about being able to speak out,
Yes.
to speak out almost about anything,
Yes.
so long as it's relevant, without
Um,
any sense of humiliation or comeback. And
no.
that's a biggie that one's got to get.
It's massive, and I mean we've both got experience in care organizations, and one of the catastrophic impacts of negative leader behaviors in care organizations is that people are afraid to speak out
Yeah,
because because they're worried about the consequences for them if they do, and changing that around, and changing that whole tone set by leadership behaviours is really critically important, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And the other prerequisites is, of course, the leader attitude to
Yeah,
their followers, to the workforce, and their attitude and the values which leaders have, because it's attitude and values which actually set the tone. I mean, if the tone is a positive tone, then leader followers will actually respond positively to that. So
yes,
the whole idea of leaders and their behavior is to create an environment which is supportive, positive, has triggers which trigger off psychological well-being, an interest in performance, an interest in commitment, an interest in trust, all of which are vital towards trying to create an organization that performs at its peak.
yeah. It's really interesting because it's sort of those things that you're talking about also seems to create in again, I'm talking a little bit from the care perspective, but an interest in others, an interest in caring for other people. Um, that sort of lack of psychological safety that you were talking about, you're protective. You're very protective of yourself, aren't you? And you're not kind of giving of yourself in a sort of caring way. So, it's that and it's just so interesting to see that change over time in an organization. Fortunately, I've seen that change from a very negative situation to a much more positive situation in terms of leader behaviors. And what a difference! What a difference it makes.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
what do you think, Derek? If you were to describe, some of the most important behaviors, what would they be, and why do you think?
Well, before answering that, there are a couple of things which leaders need to bear in mind, not
Yeah,
only their attitude and their tone,
yeah,
but they need to create a situation where they feel, where the workforce feels valued, and rapport needs to be built up between a leader and the follower.
yeah,
And in terms of individuals, they ought to feel as though they're of equal value to the success of the business or the organization as the leader is. And if those attitudes and approach are in place, then the big first behavior, I think, is attentiveness. Uh,
attentiveness. Yeah,
Attentiveness has a massive reciprocity power to it.
yes,
But individuals need to feel as though they're being attentive. They've got to feel, if I'm talking to you, you've got to feel as though I'm being attentive to you, basically.
yes,
If you don't feel that, you won't reciprocate. But if you do, you will reciprocate. So once
yes.
I take that curiosity, interest in who you are, everything about you, I want to nurture you, support you, encourage you to take risks, encourage you to actually see the future. All of those things come into the mix. I've got to be attentive to you and respond positively to whatever it is you reciprocate.
Yeah, I
That's
remember.
vital.
I remember reading a great sort of marketing guru that said that the key thing was not to be interesting, but to be interested.
Absolutely.
And I think that's very, very true. And we're talking about that, aren't we, in the context of leadership, is that
Absolutely.
if you show an interest in and demonstrate that through your behavior and attentiveness, that creates the whole, as you said, it creates reciprocity, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You want to work for this organization, and it's meaningful. It's your purpose, and you can trust your leader because they have trust in you. Yeah,
Yes, exactly. And trust is really vital. I mean, that's the second on my list of behaviours.
Right. Yeah.
How trust turns into behaviour is that trust is the absence of second guessing the motivation of other people. So you take them at face value. And
Yes.
so your behaviour as a leader needs to be consistent.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the way in which you dressed, your mannerisms, your body language, everything needs to be consistent over a period of time. Then your followers will actually forget about second guessing what you're up to and take
Yes.
you at face value. And that's key. I mean, they're all
Yes.
key, these behaviors, but that's another key behavior.
Yeah. Our CEO in William Simpson's, which is a social care organization, introduced. I had to work pretty hard at it, really, because the culture had been so bad, or sort of punitive in approach. But it is completely integrated now, and it was like a philosophy of trust first. So
Yeah.
you have to extend trust to you. You have to, not second guess people and take them on, face value on their merits, and have a, if you're going to have an assumption, have a positive assumption about their motivation rather than a negative one. So yeah, I do agree with you. That's a key one. Any other key behaviors you think, Derek?
Intellectual flexibility,
Yeah,
so that you're not a bland person just trotting out some sort of mantra that the organization requires you to do. Uh,
yeah,
People want you to actually be interested in them and respond to them. So you've
yeah,
got to have that. Humor,
yeah,
absolutely vital. It's a de-stressor. And if you can, self-deprecation is probably a good thing to introduce
yes,
from time to
yes,
time.
yeah, because none of us is perfect.
No, and
Yeah,
have this attitude of curiosity.
yes,
Tell me about what you're up to here. I'm interested. How are you doing that?
yeah,
Um,
yes,
what's happening today? What's
yeah,
going
what's
on?
happening?
Yeah,
Yeah,
demonstrates a real interest.
yes,
Other things, compassion is clearly been a big one. I mean, in the NHS, there's a whole thing about compassionate leadership. I think it's just one of many behaviors, and that is to
yeah,
take an interest in people's misery, if you like, not just an interest, but actually trying to help and do something about it, which is what compassion is all about.
yes,
And to be that as a leader, you're sufficiently curious, interested in your followers, you want them to perform at their peak. Therefore, when things go wrong, take a real interest and try and help solve the issue,
yes.
whatever it is.
Yes, yes, and that is the opposite of being. That's the opposite of that sort of punitive way of behaving, isn't it? It's saying, okay, something's gone wrong here, and you've come and told me about it. What can we do to help and make sure that you have what you need to
Yeah.
get the job done
Yeah, and one
in
or two
a
others.
good way.
I've got one or two others. I mean,
Yeah,
intelligent kindness is another one, which is, falls closely to compassion in many ways. But you're not kind all the time, but you're kind when it's necessary,
yeah,
which means that leaders need to be able to read other people really well. So they've got to be
yes,
emotionally intelligent, and they've got to understand other people's emotions and respond to them.
yes,
And then use intelligent kindness to actually respond in a very kind, supportive, encouraging, nurturing sort of way.
yes. I mean, it's a really interesting one, mentioning emotions because some of the very negative behaviors can stem from poor management of emotions on the
Yeah,
part of the leader. So that emotion, there's kind of a couple of really interesting things. And maybe it's a really good topic for another conversation because there's a lot to think about. But really, you need to be able to manage not your own emotions, but also other people's emotions and be
yeah,
able to deal with that.
Yeah.
without taking things very personally.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good one. Maybe a good topic for another conversation, Derek.
A couple of others. Forgiveness is
Yes,
another behavior I think is absolutely essential. Things go wrong, and I have the mantra: all failures are successes waiting to happen.
yes,
And therefore, when things do go wrong, and some things can go catastrophically wrong, you,
yes,
in order to move forward, rather than ruminate on the issue itself and cause stress and all sorts of other things which reduce performance, it's
yes,
far more important to forgive the person for doing whatever has been the wrong thing, in order for
yes.
everyone to move forward and to get back to performing as well as they possibly can.
Sometimes, sometimes I think as a leader as well, that it's a bit of self-compassion and self-forgiveness
Yeah,
is really, really important too. That I've seen on many occasions, and really good leaders can beat themselves up
yeah,
in such a way as to actually, cause more problems than less
yeah,
because they won't forgive themselves. They make all leaders make mistakes, just like everyone else does, and it's important to be able to, to be able to move on from that, isn't it?
yeah. I think I mean, encouragement is another pretty key thing, but
Yeah,
sort of beyond all of these behaviors and the cultural requirements and the sort of context within which the behaviors need to be delivered,
yeah,
leaders also have to be absolutely clear about where is it that the team is going or the organization is going,
yeah,
and how is it going to get there? And it's really important to be able to demonstrate that you know that, because
yeah,
that is what you're encouraging everybody to achieve.
yes,
And it's the leader's job to actually know that. It's the leader's job to deal with the uncertainty of all of that. It seldom goes straightforwardly, as you
no,
all know.
no,
Therefore, it's the leader's job to actually
no,
encourage people to work with ambiguity and uncertainty. But
yes.
that's the job.
That's what being a leader is.
Yeah,
It's not dealing with all the everything being perfect and hunky dory. Sometimes it's having the difficult conversations with people and dealing with stuff when things aren't going according to plan. And and good leaders seem to be able to manage that. Through their behaviors, they manage difficult situations, not perfectly, but well. Or well enough to get through it and to still be going in the right general direction, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, Derek. I think that's a really good point to, maybe bring this conversation to a close, but really interesting to chat through why leadership and leader behaviors are important. And we'll be back with another conversation soon.
Great. Thanks very
Okay.
much, Alan.
Bye. Bye-bye. Bye for
Bye-bye.
now. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye.